And if you want to be competitive in the world, because we got a problem. We got China with all the money and a lot of cheap labor. And I face this every day. I go there. I've seen it. I know what it looks like firsthand. Stop wringing our hands about how we got to do import tariffs and all these other nonsense. It can all be done if we wake up and realize all the dollars we're throwing out. And if you think I'm crazy, I'll give you a great example. I've been to Japan many times and toured all over Japan, visiting Toyota, Toyota City, and all the suppliers of Toyota as well. And this one supplier by the name of Hawks makes electronic componentry. Their labor rate is 17 times greater than that of China. 17 times. They do about $100 a year. They're a thriving company, and they practice TPS. They compete with the Chinese head to head. They produce a higher quality product just in time for their suppliers. Did they need import tariffs to do that? They needed to use their wit and not their wallet. And that is the key. So I'm going to close by giving you one powerful concept that Toyota does that has really, again, been the central mantelpiece of who FastCap is. When Toyota wants to deal with any issue, it's always answered through this one filter. What is best for your customer? Period. Because whatever is best for your customer is best for you. So produce quality first. Produce a car that doesn't break down all the time. Does it cost more money? In reality, it costs less. We know that Deming has taught us that. Quality is less expensive than crap. And Toyota answers all questions. What's best for the customer? The profit will follow. Toyota today makes more money than the top 5 automakers in the world combined. The top 5 combined. That's the story of FastCap. That's where we are. And I appreciate you listening. If you have any questions, we can go into some questions now. And go ahead. You know, it is not uncommon. I wish it was less common than it is for me to write a $10,000 check for someone who's used our products and screwed up a job with it, even though it was their fault. I don't care what it costs. The only thing that matters is that the customer knows that I care about them, and that gives me the opportunity and the impetus to go back and fix that problem so it never happens again. I don't know if I answered your question, but the customer is always right. I don't care what it costs. The customer is always right. It forces me to do a better job when I feel the pain. I was in New York the other day. I was with a taxi cab driver who was part of the mob. He had been involved with the mob for 20 years, and he said a profound statement to me, and I'll never forget it. I said, well, how did you get away from the mob? And he said, you know, Paul, they say that people see the light. People don't see the light. They feel the pain. And I make sure I feel the pain when I screw up so that I fix it. Well, that's a great question. I love that question because I missed a whole part of my story, and that is when we first started practicing Toyota production system, and I'm going to answer directly your question here. For the first 4 years, we had some great results. We added $30,000 in net profit to the bottom line in the first 4 months that we practiced TPS. I'll give you an example. I'm going to give you a great example here. We engaged our people to come up with creative solutions. This is what our first cover cap sheet looked like. See this pattern right here? Then one of our 18-year-old kids, because now we practice TPS and we thought we better start listening, he said, you know, Paul, notice the space on those dots? Do you think there's any way we could put those dots a little closer together? And I said, gee, Victor, I don't know. Maybe. It's a pretty tough process. I don't know if we can get them that tight. He says, well, let's try. So he went ahead and produced this sheet, which is 1 inch shorter or 20% less. 20% less material, adhesive, waste, and everything else. $30,000 in net profit to the bottom line. The answer to your question is this. When we started the Toyota production system, we had a hard time getting it to stick. I had to drive everything. But then I went back to Toyota a second time, and I had a conversation with the vice president of Lexus in Kyushu, Japan. And after a 2.5-hour lecture, I walked up to him and I said, what is the #1 issue for Toyota? And he said, oh, that's easy. Training people. Building a culture. And I said, oh, that's what I've been doing wrong. I've been focused on the improvements and not focused on building a culture. So I came back after 4 years of practicing it and starting the next 4 years of doing nothing but building a culture. And the answer to your question is, they have not built a culture. If you build a culture and you explain to people and you convey to people how important it is to learn this, you invest in their training. We spend between a half hour and an hour every day with 40 to 50 people in my company. It costs me thousands of dollars building a culture. And that culture sticks every day. Every department improves at our company. So, in my humble opinion, how you do it is you begin to understand that the key that Toyota taught me was we have to build a culture. We have to educate all of you and me the power of these ideas. And when we do that, and people start to see results like you and you, it's over with. Because once people see with their own eyes what can happen, you can't stop it. It's a wildfire. And there are thousands of companies all over the United States that are doing exactly what I'm doing at a much higher level than I'm doing it. Much higher. You take Theta Care in Wisconsin. 27 clinics, 4 hospitals, 5,000 employees, 250,000 patients, reducing costs by 25%, increasing the quality of care, 0 prescription errors in 2 years. 0. There are 100 million prescription errors in the United States. 100 million. This healthcare provider, 0. We want to start a quiet revolution. It's very simple. To me, it's very simple. But it's doing the kinds of things we're doing here. You coming and visiting my plant. I do that tour for free that I gave to Bob. We want to teach people. This is what Toyota has taught us. Toyota has taught us 3 things. You do something great for the individual. You do something great for society. You do something great for society. You do something great for the world. And in case you think I'm all into this Asian thing, guess what? It's all American. These ideas are from Henry Ford. They are the grocery store system. They are from Edward Deming. They took all these ideas and they said, God, this makes sense. And we're not doing it ourselves. But we can. And there are people everywhere. And I personally want to spread the word and point to companies like Theta Care and Koss Taylor, who did the interior for Air Force One. They are a total lean company. And Ram Technology and Vibeco. They're everywhere. And we need to start looking at that, because if we want to compete in the new global market, it's not going to happen unless we start doing this. I prefer to show by doing. The solution is, and you all know the solution is, the American way. The American way is for our creativity to be unleashed, for the genius of Americans to be unleashed. That will create jobs. And that is my goal. Validating people, encouraging people to think and make decisions and learn. That is the goal.